like to move to Bob Farquhar. Bob is building a Dale Rush kit for Blair Line. And I want to thank Dale so much for his cooperation and his participation with the kit building. And I want to thank Bob Farquhar for agreeing to do the build along. I think that these are really important, and I really do appreciate the time and effort that both Blair Line and Bob have put into this. Blair Line gave a very, very good discount and super pricing on the kit. And I really do appreciate everything that Dale has done. So Bob, I will turn it over to you, sir.
Okay. If anybody has any questions during my presentations, please speak up, because I'd rather do it during the presentation rather than afterwards. So we'll start there. And there we go. So this is the Blair Line kit. I'm doing the HO scale version of this one. This is the kit box as it comes. I've showed this only because that's the only picture you see with the shed on the back of it. So you get an idea for that one. When you're looking at this picture of this kit, you can see some of the base is pretty much a concrete slab. I'm going to be painting it a concrete color. Board and batten siding inside and the other side. Scribe siding for the front and the back wall and the shed as well. And of course you have these posts and that here. A lot of signage. His is called a general store, even though his sign here shows as groceries. He has all kinds of different signs. I'll show them later. It looks like rolled tar paper roofing, and looks like a tin cap on there, simulated tin cap, and a chimney. And this kit is laser cut, and it's all tabbed and slot, and that's quite nice. It goes together really nicely. Most of the general stores and grocery stores like this are fairly well maintained. So the little bit of weathering in here, they won't be really run down. Now, if you want to have it like a dilapidated, abandoned building or whatever, Greg Cassidy has done a real excellent job of this kit in HO scale, and really impressive. But I'm going to be building this as it's shown in here. And as I say, it's a HO scale. So what I did, I just spent a bunch of time out here and just got some, took 1 minute, put some markers out here, just different colors. And it seems that I had nicer colors I want to do than just plain white. And I'm going to do white because I find that it's the, I don't know, it just seemed to be the neater of the whole bunch. So this is what the kit is composed of. So these trim pieces here, the thicker one, there's two strip pieces here. The thicker one is the support inside the building. That's where the walls will attach to. And the thinner one is the porch support. And this is the base. That's where we're going to be. Where's that? Hang on. There it is. Sorry. This base here, this is the front of the building right here. It goes into these slots here. There's the little holes for the porch roof supports. And this is the rear wall. And this is for the shed going back in through here. And of course, the three shed walls here, the side walls, the end wall, and the rear wall of the main building, the front wall. Now there's two parts of the front wall. There's a finished wall, and this one goes inside this one. And you'll notice this window opening here is bigger than this one here. And the idea is when you put the window glass, when you cut out the glass, it's all marked up for you here. And these part numbers refer to the instructions. And when you cut these out, they fit up in here perfectly, and for your window. Same idea for the door. That you have to cut that out, by the way. This is the roofing. There's a main roof in there, and you can see the tabs in here for the fit into these tabs up here. The slots are slots here for the tabs up here. They're in the front and the rear. And this is for the chimney. There's the window for the shed, and this is the board and batten siding, the front porch roof and the rear shed roof, and that's the port pieces for the front porch roof. A lot of different signs. You can see the general store sign and company store sign and a grocery store sign. You got lots of signs. And one wet decal. And then this is an advice to keep this piece here together. Do not separate the windows and doors, because you'll paint it in that fret, and makes it easier. Then you can just touch up the when you pull them out later, you can touch up the sides. So starting with the base, this is the part for cutout. If you want to do lighting interior or something like that, you can cut this out. I'm leaving it intact. Then it's been really well engineered in the sense that a lot of laser kit manufacturers have a lot of join pieces like all the way along the side here, and it's a bugger to get them out. This one here, this kit has been designed, only 4 of them there. There's one here, that little left over just to cut through there. And when you do that, this is what you're left with. And this piece here is basically a scrap piece, but I would keep it aside. And the main reason is maybe use that piece for a sidewall bracing later on during the build. And there's what all the pieces are going to be left over when you're finished out cutting out all the pieces. So this is good for scratch building in something in the future, or you need a piece of wood for whatever reason. A good idea to save all these pieces. And there's the little when you cut these little tabs off there, or the little joiner pieces, it just sand them through smooth afterwards. So the first step now there's 2 options here. I'm going to show how to do a painted one and also a stained one. I'm going to do the rear shed as a stain and paint everything else. So what you do is use a gray primer paint, because if you're going to be using a white. If you're going to use a darker color, use the rust color type of primer. Actually, either one would work anyway, doesn't matter. Do both sides. The main reason is because most of the paint now is water-based, and if you do one side only, it will warp. So you do both sides, and I suggest in one spraying thing, you can do the backs, then flip it over and paint the front, and then let them dry. So make sure you do both sides. So this is for the staining. I showed this before several weeks ago. This is a little small cup, about 1/4 inch, with alcohol in here, and I put in the India ink. And make sure it's non-waterproof, because a lot of India inks are waterproof inks. So make sure it's non-waterproof ink, otherwise it doesn't mix well. Or you can use a shoe dye, either way. What I've been using is this Hunter Line weathering mix, the driftwood color, and I find that's a lot easier. Now this is, as an example, with 3 drops, eyedropper, 3 drops of ink. That's a color there, and there's for 6. That's probably the one they want. There's 9, is a little bit dark, unless you want dark. And this is for the shoe dye, same idea. You may want to do maybe a 4. 3 is quite light, 6 a bit heavy, dark, maybe 4 or 5 you want to do. And what you can do then is test it on a piece of the scrap that you have left over after you cut out the pieces. So for the staining now, when the laser cut this wood, burns the wood, and it actually seals the wood per se. Now, if you're going to paint it, it's not a problem. You can just leave it the way it is. But if you're going to stain it, the stain will not go into the side area with the burns edges. You have to sand them down. So this is an example. Do both sides of this with a brush, and now you put it into under 2 pieces of wax paper, and then I put the weights on top of it and leave it overnight, and it will not warp. And even if the next day you'd be fine, just take the weight off and you're good. And now in this example, this edge here is not standing down because it's going to be the bottom of the wall. There's the top of the wall going to be hidden by the roof, and actually the sides here and these sides here are going to be hidden by trim pieces that are going to be put in through here. You might want to touch up the window here opening. And if you want to have the rear door open a bit, you want to sign the door edges here too. Now, the strip wood, excuse the I don't have a very good photographer. Okay, it's me. Anyway, a piece of paper, sandpaper in half, and then it's to sand out these strip wood pieces, the two of them. And if you want to go with dilapidated type of building or rundown building, you want to be texture up the wood here first, which would like a razor saw or brass bristle brush, and then sand it down, because there's, even when it comes from the manufacturer, there's little pieces of or little hairs hanging out here, or little piece of wood. Anyway, you can sand it down, make it smooth again. Now I painted this white. This is the thicker one you're going to be using for the internal wall, or the holding the walls straight, and it's inside the building, so you don't see them anyway. I don't know why I did that, but I did. And this one's going to be cutting it out to the porch walls. So that's it for today. And this is the first of the 5 sessions of doing this build, and the next one's going to be doing the paint. So I'm done. Any questions?
I do. On the if you're doing the ink and alcohol, what's recommended as far as mixing the ink and alcohol, like amounts?
Yeah, I generally go start with 2 rum and cokes. I know in the States you can't, I don't think you can get above 75% alcohol. In Canada, we get 99% or 90%. Well, that's what I use in Canada. But it doesn't really matter anyway. And I just drop it in, and with the alcohol, it just dissipates a, this mixes it perfectly. You don't have to stir it, don't have to do anything. Just drop it in. If you don't have an eyedropper, I use a stick, whatever, dip it into the ink and just drop into the ink alcohol. Yep.
Bob, why do you use stain instead of paint as your
Well, generally 99% of the time I'm using a building that isn't as nicely finished as this one is, like this one will be. This is generally my buildings are running down a bit, or they haven't been maintained well over the years, so it's easier to get the alcohol in the ink coloring to come through the paint later on when you're doing the weathering and stuff. Because when I do my weathering on that, I scrape off the paint with brass bristle brush. I'll show that next week. And it when you then the stains at the back shows through. If you did the just like did the spraying with primer, the primer color doesn't look good after you get the scrape it off the paint or like that. It doesn't look right. So the stain brings that color out. Well, it looks like an untreated wood is what the effect you want.
You talked about the sanding to get the burn marks off of the
Yes.
the wood. How much sanding are you talking about?
Oh, geez, maybe 2 or 3 swipe back and forth on a flat piece of sandpaper. I use anywhere from 180 to 240 in there. The ones that come out with big rocks on it, I think that there's too heavy.
Okay.
The 180 to 240 sandpaper, and about 2 or 3 swipes is all it takes.
You talked about the walls after you've painted both sides and weighted them down overnight, that they're not warping. What about bracing for the interior of the building?
Yeah, and the worn batten signings will require bracing on one side. I'll show you that as I go along later, because it will warp. They're painting the sides because they're primer paint, and when that dries, you're going to do the white paint on there, and just on one side, and it will wow just a little bit, and then they'll put bracing in there, and then it's not a problem. So that's one way you save a bit, the scrap of wood, and for the bracing later on. Yep. Okay.
Anybody else have any more questions for Bob? Well, Bob, I appreciate it so very much. Thank you so much, and look forward to the next time in 1 week from today.
Very good.
Thank you.